game is over back at their own hotel, and Carmelo came in his sweatsuit tonight.
Underway now as Uruguay tries to do something no one else has been able to do, and that is get off to a good start against the United States. They do just that with the jump shot from the outside from Aguirre.
A very confident Uruguayan team. Even though they're ranked just 30th in the world, they have played well in this tournament, and with Batista having the NBA experience with the Atlanta Hawks, they believe that they can get it done. Michael Redd continues to struggle from the perimeter. First couple of games, he was just on fire. Blazing quickness by Uruguay.
The last couple of games, as you said, the first pair or so of games, Michael Redd could not miss from the outside, but the last 3 games, it's been a bit of a struggle.
The numbers, John, are staggering because through the first 4 games, Michael Redd was 16 for 31 from behind the three-point line for 52%. The last 2 games, he's been 2 for 14 for 14%, so that's a grave concern. United States, 2 possessions, 2 perimeter jumpers by Michael Redd. How about going inside and testing what kind of force Batista will be?
Well, maybe after seeing our open, they're a little afraid to go inside what Mr. Batista might do. Uruguay again moves the ball around, backed out by Mazzarino. Jump shot from the outside is no good.
Open court transition opportunity for the United States, but the transition defense has been very, very good for the opponents of the United States. The last couple of games, Jason Kidd able to knock down that three-pointer. He is perfect from behind the line in this entire tournament, 3 for 3.
And I believe he's only taken about 5 shots.
But he has more block shots, Jason Kidd does, in this tournament than he has shot attempts.
Great move along the baseline by Batista. And he gets fouled as well.
Batista, who was really just getting started, back to the basket move, the drop step along that baseline, and then comes right back. Nice use of the left hand, and Dwight Howard a little bit lackadaisical in his preparation, thinking that Batista might just toss that ball out of there.
So Uruguay with a 3-point lead.
Uruguay has 2 Olympic medals in men's basketball, from the 52 Olympics in Helsinki, from the 56 Olympics in Melbourne. They have not played, though, in the Olympics and qualified for the big show since Los Angeles in '84.
Both of those were bronze medals as well, as LeBron James knocked down a deuce at the other end.
They're looking to milk Batista down inside.
He had position established. Rainbow three-pointer knocked down early by Mazzarino.
Mazzarino is a tremendous perimeter shooter, and the way he shoots on the way up is very confusing to most of the players in the NBA who shoot with the ball at the height of their jump. So the defense of the United States are going to have to make some serious adjustments here. Nice layoff by Kobe Bryant.
Into Dwight Howard, trying to create some space for himself. Batista with pretty strong body underneath because Howard couldn't move him the first couple of times.
One of the things about this Uruguayan team is that they don't mind mixing it up physically. It's a very proud country, not a big country, only 3.3 million people in the entire country, a very small sliver of land about the size of the state of Washington, nestled down in that South Atlantic Ocean just between the southern end of Brazil and the northern end of Argentina.
ESPN.com has full coverage of the U.S. basketball team as they continue qualification for the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. Video features and reports from Las Vegas by Chris Sheridan highlight the coverage. Check out ESPN.com for all of your USA basketball news and information.
Pressure defense in the backcourt by Jason Kidd to see if these South American point guards, normally adept at handling that ball, but whether they can get it up against Jason Kidd, that's another story.
Aguirre with it. Dumps it off to Mazzarino. Shot won't go. Out of bounds to the United States. Without question, this is the latest we have been in a game with the United States trailing. Without question. I think the only other time they trailed in a game was 4-2.
LeBron in transition.
Beautiful back to Kobe.
The chemistry between LeBron and Kobe has really been fun to witness. And LeBron has come up with one of the phrases that has really defined this squad. The ball slapped out of bounds by Dwight Howard, but Jason Kidd, one of the cardinal sins of basketball, never save it underneath your own basket. A trip to the free throw line by Uruguay. But in transition, Kobe's yelling for that ball, knowing that LeBron is looking ahead to attack. But when you hear that voice, you know all you have to do is just lay it back down. But when LeBron has come up with the chant, you know, when you're in the huddle in basketball and you're getting ready to break, you go 1, 2, 3, you say victory or championship. The phrase that they've got now, courtesy of LeBron James, is 1, 2, 3, dominate.
Dominate. Well, I'll tell you what, 1, 2, 3, 4. They've been doing that definitely thus far. Uruguay again supposed to go on top, and they do as Batista hits both free throws. So this is as big a story as we've had against the United States thus far.
Unquestionably, and
LeBron James from outside, the three-pointer is good.
Well, if that shot becomes a staple for LeBron James, you can start rewriting the history books right now, which he's already a top 2, the first to everything in every statistical category ever kept in terms of age, but not in terms of games played. Kickball violation, LeBron's defense outstanding once again.
The bounce pass was intended for Mazzarino, but LeBron got the big foot in there.
Because that statistic that they always use with LeBron as the youngest player to do this, the youngest player to do that, it's a different category when you say the fewest number of games. Because fewest number of games, it's always Wilt, it's always Oscar, and sometimes Elgin is in there as well.
They did not beat the shot clock, I didn't think, but the officials let them get away with that one. But a nice job. As you saw, there was a perfect example of that ball being on the rim and Dwight Howard taking it off.
Nice kickoff by Kobe Bryant. He was wide open for a layup, but trying to get Michael Redd going. And Mike Krzyzewski might want to come with Mike Miller right away because the shot is not there for Michael Redd. Maybe he's just ecstatic the fact that he signed up.
Oh, that's right. With
his Milwaukee
brand new teammate from China. Oh, nice move by Batista. Played 80 games, or rather 70 games the last 2 years with the Atlanta Hawks. LeBron James, a little pump fake, and back out. Jason Kidd, three-pointer, is too deep.
His first miss from behind the arc in this entire FIBA America tournament. With quick hands by Uruguay.
Well, almost a steal, but Aguiar makes him play. And Mike Krzyzewski's looking at something he hasn't looked at in some time. That is a deficit. Saunders and Bill Walton, and when you have a dream team like this one is, you don't expect the absence of one player to mean that much. But Carmelo Anthony has been such a hot starter for the United States. His absence is showing tonight.
Carmelo Anthony is one of those guys who's figured out the international game, the pace of it, the flow, where the openings and opportunities are, and he has been getting literally 70% of the offensive opportunities in the opening going. And LeBron has been keeping the United States in this game. Surprising that Uruguay is playing this well, actually been outplaying the United States. But if Michael Redd doesn't start hitting some shots, they're going to have to come with another alternative.
Kobe Bryant off to the races, has some options, lays it off for Michael Redd, who uses the glass and drops it down.
Very fast-paced game. Uruguay is not turning the ball over, something that the United States has capitalized on, really forced a tough pass that hits Dwight Howard in the back of the head there. A rare turnover.
And then LeBron James takes it coast to coast. So the United States perhaps, well, there's LeBron James perfect from the field, and that's what the United States needs in place of Carmelo Anthony.
That's what they have counted on from Carmelo.
Mazzarino from outside. Three-pointer is good.
There also has to be the element factored in that the team has just been there in Las Vegas for so long that you have a situation where quite possibly a little rust, a little frustration. Kobe Bryant misses the dunk and the stick back.
And the original one. He went 0 for 3 on that trip. Batista quickly into the lane. Misses everything. Jason Kidd, tough pass.
A rare turnover by Jason Kidd, who leads this tournament in assist-to-turnover ratio by a gargantuan amount. He's got 29 assists coming into this game tonight, and that was only his third turnover of the entire tournament.
Kobe Bryant trying to make up for his last time down. This time spots an opening, takes it in.
Kobe Bryant's ability to get to the hoop. We're seeing that whenever Kobe or LeBron can beat their own man on the perimeter, there is no defensive rotation whatsoever for Uruguay. Players running away from the basket area in their defensive responsibilities, and Batista looks around and says, hey, come on. It's not the Atlanta Hawks I'm playing for anymore.
Well, I've seen a lot more contact in this tournament that went without a whistle than that little drive there. It's one of the things that has been interesting about the international game as opposed to the NBA. The officials seem to let them play, as the expression says. Hand checking is pretty much accepted.
Darren Williams in the game right now, along with Chauncey Billups, a change of the entire backcourt. Mike Miller into the lineup as well for Krzyzewski's United States squad.
So Simani, and the lane loses it, but last touch by Tayshaun Prince.
Tayshaun, who missed the game earlier this week with that slightly sprained ankle. And so now you have two injuries that Krzyzewski is having to deal with. Both the front court players.
Mike Miller almost has the steal. Good ball movement. Well, Simani, though, misses the shot. Should have taken it on the first attempt. He would have beat the buzzer, but with that pump fake, shot clock violation. Chauncey Billups down to the baseline, poke from behind.
Uruguay is playing very solid basketball. They eliminate their shot clock violations, cut down on their turnovers, and continue to feed Batista. Then they've really got a chance to make some noise early on here against the United States, surprisingly.
Simani again from outside, misses. Rebounded, last touch by the United States.
That's 2 times tonight, John, that the United States players, Jason Kidd and Amari Stoudemire, tried to save that ball underneath their own basket. Neither time working, and they were lucky they didn't get burned with an easy basket by Uruguay.
Bounce pass. Oh, nice. Down to Batista with a strong finish. Uruguay does not in any way seem intimidated by the United States.
One of the amazing things about Batista, who is a free agent for Atlanta, the way he's playing right now, he's playing himself into some real nice cash. But here's a guy who's averaging 21.5 points per game and the third leading scorer in this tournament. He's the leading rebounder in the tournament at 14 per game. In 2 NBA seasons for Atlanta, he's never averaged more than 2 points or more than 3 rebounds per game.
It's hard to believe he couldn't get off of that bench. Miller into the corner. Chauncey Billups swings it back out. Tayshaun Prince, three-pointer is good.
The United States continues to address their biggest weakness in international competition in the 7 years since they've won a men's senior tournament. That was in Sydney, but that outside shooting, the exception of Michael Redd, continues to remain remarkably consistent. Nice runner in the lane.
Except they missed everything, except the glass. A great ball movement in the finish by Tayshaun Prince.
Krzyzewski has done a very nice job of using a double point guard lineup. He's used Jason Kidd and Chauncey Billups. Right now he's going with Chauncey Billups and Darren Williams. Out in transition is Amari Stoudemire, will try to create it for himself.
He'll create a trip to the free throw line. Here's what you talked about with the 2 point guards, Billups and Williams working nicely together.
You're talking such an incredible mismatch in terms of the size of the countries, because Uruguay is the 3rd smallest territory in all of South America.
I want to remind everybody, Bill, that Team USA's qualifying for the 2008 Olympics continues tomorrow. Quarterfinal round robin has the U.S. against Argentina, a showdown of 2 unbeaten teams. If the USA can hold on tonight, midnight Eastern time, top 4 teams after the quarterfinal round will still have a chance to win the spot in Beijing. Remember, all USA games also available live on ESPN360.com.
Beautiful penetration by Uruguay to set up Batista down low, who has been the best front court player in this game by far. Backcourt violation at the buzzer, though at the end of the first quarter, the United States lucky to have.
Jay-Z and Love is the name of one of their hits. Jay-Z and Beyonce. Crazy about Team USA. And Bill, I hear you're crazy about that shirt, too.
A very intriguing shirt. I think he's wearing it in honor and respect for Uruguay, because Uruguay is a native Guarani language for the river of beautifully colored birds. And that is a description of the Uruguayan River, which is flowing into the River Plata, which makes the border with Argentina and Uruguay. The River Negro on the northern part, which makes the border with Brazil. But Batista continues to just be remarkable.
I mean, he's playing against the best team in this tournament by far thus far, and he right now is dominating.
He has taken it to whoever is matched up with him. Dwight Howard to begin with, then Amari Stoudemire. They bring Tayshaun Prince in.
Amari Stoudemire. Now on the defensive end, he's having a little bit more of a problem.
Well, he's not that big. He's only 6'9" at best, but being left-handed certainly helps him. Tough pass. Misread the flash up to the high post.
Darren Williams. And Tayshaun Prince on the floor. Mike Miller's off there on the right. Chauncey Billups also out there. So small lineup out there for Mike Krzyzewski.
And I like that approach, because basketball, the way it's changing and what Mike D'Antoni has brought to the NBA is that speed and quickness game. Forget the big stiffs who can't move. This whole roster is built on guys who can really play basketball, who happen to have good basketball bodies.
Chauncey Billups will go to the free throw line as he got fouled trying to create some space underneath along the baseline.
Again, the minutes so well distributed by Krzyzewski, nobody getting worn out. But with the injury to Carmelo, the fact that Tayshaun Prince is not going to play a lot, that puts more pressure on all the front court players.
Now, you talked about Uruguay. Let's point it out for you here on the map of South America.
Just nestled right in there between the River Negro on the north and the River Plata on the south, but it is the 2nd smallest independent country, larger only than Suriname, and then French Guiana, which is an overseas department of France. It's also much smaller than Uruguay.
I also found it was interesting that they gained their independence, and you would think from some European country, but actually gained their independence from Brazil.
It was passed over, Uruguay was, in the colonial expansion of Portugal, England, Spain, because there's no gold or silver there. Pretty much like today's world, when there's no oil there, The big boys leave it alone.
Aren't interested. Mike Miller, good job. He misses a shot at the other end and hustled back to get the tip. Great job defensively by Mike Miller. Darren Williams, a lot of one-on-one play in today's game that we hadn't seen much of from the USA. Silvera from the outside.
One of the problems when you're playing against a team like Uruguay, just ranked 30th in the world standings, is where is the excitement going to come from? This is where you really have to dig deep for your levels of self-motivation. Tremendous throwdown and drive by Tayshaun Prince. He's saying they're not going to count that? What's up?
It's not the NBA, Tayshaun.
Which is why I'm all for a standardization of the rules at every level. And you have to move the three-point line back at international and college basketball.
The college is going to move it back.
Yeah, but they're going to wait a year.
Yeah, they're going to wait a year to do it, but they always wait a year when they make a change. Chauncey Billups on the floor, off the iron, off the back of the iron, and it won't go down. And a little poke to the eye with Shapiro.
They're going to stop the play here and make sure that everybody's okay.
And Shapiro got poked in the eye by someone. Oh, Chauncey Billups.
Billups trying to get back after missing that layup.
Yeah, that'll sting the old eyeballs. Apparently he's okay.
Nice double team by the United States, forcing that errant shot from well beyond the arc.
There's Morales with the miss. There's Shapiro on the bench. How many fingers am I holding up?
7.
Go to the locker room, son. Look at this. Esteban Batista is just having his way with the United States up front.
His heroes in basketball, he hasn't been playing that long. He grew up a soccer player. He's riding a public bus in Montevideo, which is the capital and the only city in Uruguay that has more than 1 million people in it. More than half the country lives in Montevideo. And so he's riding the public buses there one day as a youngster, and a big, tall guy. And he says, hey, you should be playing basketball, young man. He said, well, I'm a soccer fan. Nice little move along that baseline, and then the dish off.
Stoudemire comes up with the miss. Good job defensively by Amari Stoudemire. Miller back outside. Chauncey Billups then travels. One up in the air, not sure what he wanted to do with that one.
LeBron James back into the action. Maybe that will steady down the United States, which has appeared a little ragged tonight. And even though the coaching staff addressed the fact that, look, don't overlook these guys in anticipation for the big game against Argentina tomorrow night. Subconsciously, how do you do that when Uruguay not one of the traditional powers?
That lob inside for Batista was a little bit out of his range even. LeBron James along the baseline, and then signature two-handed slam.
This is one thing that Uruguay is really going to have to work on over time. You can't make that kind of adjustment in just this game, but the defensive rotations along the back line. Now, granted, they never get to play against talent like LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. In fact, Batista is the only player in the history of Uruguay to ever play in the NBA.
Right. And he had to do a stint in Europe as well before he found his way to the NBA as a free agent. Also played in Spain and Italy after he left his native Uruguay. Martinez.
Great hands defensively by Jason Kidd.
Kidd to LeBron James off the glass.
Like a steam locomotive rolling down the tracks. LeBron James, he just gets that body moving, and nobody can keep up with him, and nobody's willing to get in his way.
LeBron finger roll. Where's George Gervin?
Carmelo ecstatic, and there's nothing finer than to see peers, rivals happy for their friends, but also compatriots' success out there. This United States team has really been special for that camaraderie, which has come to the fore here as they battle through the injuries.
Kobe Bryant from the corner, no good. It's amazing to see how quickly teams, they may have something going good against the United States, and then as soon as there seems to be a little separation, it's like, well, game plan's over. Let's just start shooting and see if we can knock some down.
What happens is that these countries have one or two good or decent ball players, and as soon as those guys make a couple of mistakes, then the onslaught is just, it's impossible to contain it from these teams like Uruguay, Venezuela, the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, that just don't have the manpower or the talent pool to match up with the United States.
It's like Mike Tyson used to say, everybody's got a plan until they get hit. Back to Las Vegas in a moment.
Roy Williams, the current coach at North Carolina, Van Chancellor, and then the Europeans coming in. What a squad that is. It'll be a special night in Springfield, Massachusetts at the Hall of Fame. Friday night, September 7th.
Kobe Bryant fought his way, spun his way to the hole. Galliano was there and committed the foul.
Very difficult shot attempt. And really not necessary to do that. Generally, when there's four guys that you're trying to beat, you should have a teammate who's standing wide open. And these guys...
maybe even four of them.
These guys can catch it and finish.
Well, the good news for Uruguay is they've played very well here in the first half. Bad news is they're about to be down by 20.
And Uruguay has had the best individual player. But here's a team that's Uruguay that's the worst shooting team in the entire tournament coming in, shooting only 41% from the field. And the United States, they have the best opponent field goal percentage in the entire tournament at 36%. So this 20-point lead is certainly not surprising.
Morales was showing his range after that jump shot. And then Kobe Bryant again. A little two-step to the hoop. Crossover, lays it off the glass, plus a trip to the line.
Contrast that play, quick explosion, finish before the defense gets there, as opposed to the triple clutch against three defenders hanging all over you.
At times it just doesn't seem fair.
But the great thing about Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, and we've seen it tonight and throughout this tournament, is their ability to go to their left. Now, LeBron doesn't finish left the way Kobe can finish left, but LeBron is 5 or 6 years younger than Kobe. Here's Jason Kidd in transition. LeBron.
Oh! Carmelo, sit down. You got a bad heel. Sit down, relax. How's that for a night?
But there's so much adrenaline going in all of these players right now. The runner in the lane is not even close. That's a bailout.
Well, it's Shakira who got hit in the eye earlier, and maybe it's still affecting his sight because he wasn't even close on that.
Nobody trying to take a charge on this play here. His head was at the level of the rim. You speak of the eye and the blurred vision. Remember when Kareem had got poked in the eye and they lost to Houston in college on January 20th, 1968? That was the only game in Kareem's entire college career of 90 games that he shot under 50%. He was 4 for 16 in that game. Couldn't quite figure out where the basket was.
The only game in his career he shot under
50% in 90 games.
Incredible. Uruguay again trying to settle for the shots from outside. Shakiro misses. And then Howard has it at the other end. Resets with Jason Kidd.
Well, with Batista on the bench right now, there's no real inside attack for Uruguay. And so they're just going to continue to stroke it. LeBron James. This is a perfect game for him.
Yes, it is. He has yet to miss from the field.
And three-pointers, dunks, drives, runners, jumpers, defense, doing it all, LeBron James.
And Uruguay finally, as Taboada finally gets one to drop down.
One of the real nice things about Uruguay, John, is that, like most of South America, LeBron James, we are going to be witnessing history here tonight, because LeBron James is just in one of those zones where everything is going down. And here he comes up with the steal.
Finally bounces back to Uruguay, and Dwight Howard comes over for the block but commits a foul.
Uruguay, during the 70s, like most of South America, they had the unbelievable repressive military dictatorships and the disappeared ones and all of the human rights abuses. But during the 70s, Uruguay had the greatest proportion of political prisoners of any country in the world based on their population of just 3.3 million. And today, Uruguay, to their credit, they are the second most transparent and least corrupt government in all of South America after Chile, that was also at the top of the other list back in the 70s. So things hopefully moving forward down there in Uruguay.
Well, they're trying to move forward here as far as this tournament goes, and they're running into it from the United States. Darren Williams to Kobe Bryant, right at the rim.
Beautiful basketball. Catch it on the perimeter. You know you can make that jumper. The defender's running at you, pump fake, get to the hoop. No double clutching, just the strong finishing. Uruguay has fallen apart with Batista on the bench.
That'll be a goaltend call. So counted for Uruguay, and we'll get back to Vegas in a moment. Well, Bill Walton, you mentioned it at the start of the night. Without Carmelo Anthony, they'd have to depend on LeBron James, and he was listening.
Talk about delivering. LeBron James has put on an absolute clinic with every aspect of his arsenal on full display. The throwdowns, the finger rolls, the finishing in transition, the unparalleled athleticism up above the rim. 11 minutes, 24 points without missing a shot. The three-pointers are going down. The defense has been superb.
Amari Stoudemire's shot won't go, but it's knocked back out. Kobe Bryant reverses underneath.
This has been a dazzling display of talent, of quickness, of explosiveness. And the Uruguayans can only say, what are we going to do? And why do we have Batista on the bench?
Amari Stoudemire with the foul. He came over the top, but look at this reverse.
The lack of defensive rotation on the weak side is really hurting Uruguay. Kobe Bryant, he does this against the best of the best in the NBA, so this is nothing unusual for people who watch regularly the Los Angeles Lakers games. But still, you need to be able to collapse and anticipate that Kobe's coming to the hoop.
And head coach Alberto Espancendín has that same look, as we've said.
a lot of the
opponent coaches have had. Lobbed into Amari Stoudemire.
You know what's also amazing about Uruguay is that we think of Latin America, we think of the Spanish and the Hispanic population. 94% of the population of Uruguay is of European descent. And a tremendous Italian population there. He's coming up the court saying, okay. The guys on the bench, they cannot believe what they're seeing here, because this has become like a fast break drill in practice, where the United States is just up and down and dunking every single time. Nice step out double team defense by Tyson Chandler that time.
I think I may have kind of, in my description of the play, sort of described the feeling of the Uruguayan players when I went, uh-oh. That's all I could say. That's all that would come to my lips.
Well, that's also what the good people of New Orleans were saying 2 years ago tonight when Katrina was hitting shore for the first time. Tyson Chandler and his teammates, the Hornets, will be going back, and we can only hope that's all going to work out for everybody involved.
I don't want him to shoot.
No, he's got to shoot here. You're on fire. Go for it.
LeBron with the dish this time. Come up with an assist at the end. And he does.
Amari Stoudemire with his second three-pointer of the tournament.
Take that, Bill Walton.
And Mike D'Antoni is just wincing, saying, oh, my gosh. LeBron, who's just been flawless, finds Amari Stoudemire at the halftime buzzer. This has been a beautiful display of how you play fast break up and down basketball. Congratulations to the United States. And LeBron finally tracks just a bit of a smile.
11 of 11 from the field, including 4 3-pointers. This is the FIBA.
Heel injury suffered last night while throwing a dunk down, and Carmelo has got the binoculars out saying zone in on this. LeBron James is not starting in the second half. How can that be?
Maybe he's done for the night.
No, well, you mentioned Carmelo's 28 points. It's a high. That's for this tournament here. Right. The all-time high for the United States in international competition is 35 points by Carmelo Anthony last year in Japan. That was against Italy. So LeBron with already 26, he's right there to snatch that top spot away from his buddy Carmelo.
Well, Mazzarino starts things out nicely for Uruguay with an outside jumper. Tayshaun Prince trying to clear some space. Finds Amari Stoudemire, lays it off the glass.
I was shocked to see LeBron on the bench to start the second half. But the first time I saw Arvydas Sabonis play, he was 19 years old. It was many, many years ago. It was in a European championship game over in Stuttgart, Germany. He was playing for Moscow. In the first half, he's 19. In the first half, he had 30 points and 20 rebounds and a dozen block shots and didn't miss a shot in the entire game and played like a 7-3 Larry Bird. And Alexander Gomelski, their Hall of Fame coach, did not start him in the second half, and the place just booed. I mean, there was 20,000 fans in the Stuttgart arena that night, and Gomelski was just under a lot of pressure.
Put back attempt. No good for Paez. Stoudemire in there swatting at it.
Batista, the only player really getting it done statistically in the first half, as Krzyzewski confers with his brain trust. But Batista, a very solid first half, 14 points on 6 for 8 shooting. A couple of free throws in 3 attempts and only 14 minutes of action. Did also have 3 rebounds. Batista, the tournament's leading rebounder.
Batista, 12 rebounds a game. He's having a tremendous tournament. As you say, perhaps get himself a few extra dollars as a free agent out there coming off the Atlanta Hawks.
Well, that Hawk team, we can only hope that they can find some sort of success. I mean, it has been a drought rivaling what the Western United States are going through right now. But when you get a roster that has Joe Johnson, Josh Smith, Marvin Williams, Josh Childress, Zaza Pachulia, Salim Stoudemire, and Tyrone Lue, you would think that you could get something done at the NBA level, particularly if you add Esteban Batista to the mix.
As you can see, we're experiencing some video problems from Las Vegas. We have our crack staff on it right now. I'm sure they'll get it straight before long. Shot from the outside for Uruguay.
That's what I love about the international game. Penetration by the little quick guards. Kick it out to a 6'8", 6'10" forward who's standing 18 to 20 feet away. And just nail that jumper down all the time. So much of the United States game right now is the guy who's dribbling is looking for his own shot.
Well, that's been working out pretty good.
Well, unlike this team, though, that ball movement right there, that's what you're really looking for.
No, and we've seen a lot of that throughout this tournament, no question, that the USA has played that way throughout the bulk of the tournament. That was Miller with that three-pointer. Tough when you pick up your dribble against this team, isn't it?
Well, they just pressure the ball. They know that they can't run a give and go because you got such great shot blockers. But this ball movement, Chauncey Billups swinging it to Mike Miller, who's just spotting up in that right wing. Nothing but net. Beautiful basketball. Again, the quick delivery, no hesitation. Tayshaun Prince showing no ill effects of that sprained ankle. 9 points for Tayshaun on a very impressive percentage.
Batista again shows some quickness along the baseline there, Bill.
But these are the games now. 5 straight nights all of these teams have played basketball, and it wears on you because Batista and Mazzaroni and all the guys for Uruguay, they've been playing literally 38 to 40 minutes every single night as their games have been very competitive, and they're trying to get down into that medal round. Batista using his right hand, his off hand. Extremely impressive. Here's a guy, Esteban Batista, working with the Atlanta Hawks. Herb Brown, Larry Brown's older brother. Herb Brown's a longtime assistant coach for everywhere. He has been working with Esteban a lot. And Herb Brown's international resume impeccable. 15 years in Puerto Rico coaching. 6 years in Spain, so the language barrier not a problem whatsoever between Herb Brown and Esteban Batista as they try to get this guy's talent to really blossom.
Williams underneath and a good ball movement, but Amari Stoudemire wasn't prepared for that pass. That sort of jump hook by Batista won't fall down for him. One of the few that hasn't. Darren Williams from the outside. Good. Darren Williams has yet to miss tonight as well.
Well, the waves of talent that Krzyzewski has at his disposal. Nobody, even the San Antonio Spurs, the world champions, they don't even come close to this array of talent. Things are getting out of control quickly here. Surprisingly, Uruguay's not calling any timeouts.
Well, maybe they're saving them for the fourth quarter, Bill. in case of overtime, perhaps. Nothing will drop. Even quick little drives along the baseline like that and reverses won't go. Layups are missing. Mike Miller, long distance three is good. Well, there's that timeout you talked about. The United States leading by 38. Is already in. The United States is already in. They're just really fighting for the #1 seed tomorrow night when they fight each other.
But Argentina and the United States cannot play each other on Saturday in the semifinal round. But the big news is what's happening in 3, 4, and 5.
Exactly.
And Brazil, they need to win tomorrow night against Uruguay. But Canada, that's what everybody is watching. If they beat Puerto Rico, Canada, Puerto Rico tomorrow night, just prior to the United States and Argentina, critically important game, not only for the results of this tournament, but who gets to go to the qualifying tournament just before Beijing next summer, starting August 8th. And it was fascinating to see the explosive demand for tickets. They put tickets on sale today for the Beijing Olympics in China, and it was just unbelievable. It went crazy because it was only open to the Chinese people, and they just absolutely gobbled them all up, especially for the opening ceremonies.
Now, as a young man myself who was born and raised in Toronto, who do you think I'll be pulling for to make that #4 spot?
Well, Canada is a very good team, and Leo Rautins has done an excellent job, particularly in light of the fact that he lost one of his key players, his own son, Andy, who tore his knee up early on in this tournament and will not be able to play for Jim Boeheim at Syracuse this year. So very, very sad.
Now, that's a great point. Take one of the best players off of any of these teams, and you'd expect him to take a big drop. So for Canada to be in the medal hunt, that is saying something for Leo Rautins and crew. Nice little move by Batista. He's shown a little bit of everything.
Well, Batista is already at just 24 years of age, about the same age as LeBron and Carmelo. He is clearly the best player. Oh, goodness.
Tyson Chandler with the finish from Tayshaun Prince.
LeBron, who was perfect in the first half, 11 for 11, 26 points, can't even get in the game. But Batista is the best player already in the history of Uruguay basketball. But his mentor was one of their previous legends, Oscar Moglia, who was just a great star many years ago, and he was the inspiration and the driving force once Batista started to learn about basketball. So it's just nice to see that the tradition and the legacy being carried on.
Batista will.
Oh, they're going to call an offensive foul here. It just took Tyson Chandler out of the play. They have to call that. Tayshaun Prince with the beautiful over-the-top pass. Tyson Chandler knows exactly where. There's no one more excited than LeBron James.
We should mention that Uruguay is playing without one of their best players, Gustavo Barrera, who's a star in the Spanish league. And
he was hurt in the Pan American.
Yes, they knew they would be without him here. That's why they have a full complement of 12 players. But you think there's a little clear out? Just a little bump.
I don't know, John. Do you think that guy could play some college football in the United States?
Well, it gets start this weekend, so.
Who's the big game this week, John?
Tennessee against Cal. There aren't too many. That's Saturday night, 8 o'clock on ABC. I'll be in the studio. Myself, Craig James, and Doug Flutie will be bringing you the studio highlights and updates and halftime pregame show for that. But it's early in the season, so it's non-conference matchups mostly. In the first week, none of them very, very stunning. Miller swings it around. Michael Redd. The teardrop won't go. Ooh, a couple of Team USA players hit the floor. There's that unorthodox shot that you talked about. That's it's not everybody on their team that shoots that way, but a number of them do. That's Silvera that launched that one. We talked about shooting it on the way up.
Talk about unorthodox. So I'm really looking forward to the new Chinese player E coming in now. Just as we were talking about it last night, it was all playing out in Hong Kong.
Right.
Larry Harris, the general manager, was over there, and Senator Herb Kohl was over there, and they signed E up, and he's going to come and play. And it was nice to see a senator get some good news and not the Larry Craig story, and adding new meaning to the defensive stance of a wide stance. Goodness gracious.
Count it, +1. Don't forget the WNBA playoffs continue Thursday at 8 Eastern Time on ESPN Classic. Game 1 of the Western Conference matchup between Diana Taurasi and the Phoenix Mercury and the San Antonio Silver Stars led by Becky Hammond. Both head coaches and the lead referee will be wearing live microphones to enhance the viewing experience. It's the WNBA playoffs on the ESPN family of networks.
This has been one of the best WNBA playoffs that I've ever witnessed. And let's not forget, it was 10 years ago tomorrow night that the first WNBA championship was decided when the Houston Comets beat the New York Liberty in the final decisive game. And Cynthia Cooper, 25 points. She was the regular season MVP. She was the finals MVP. What a talent. What a player. What a personality, Cynthia Cooper. Congratulations.
They would win 4 consecutive to start off the WNBA. Caro finishing that one.
You spoke recently about the Pan Am Games. The United States is sending a group of college players. Got spanked in the Pan Am Games, including Uruguay torched them. And the United States had Hibbert, the great promising big man from Georgetown, who's really been coming along nicely under the tutelage of John Thompson III.
Yes, it's clearly been established that college players are no longer able to handle these players that are professionals and playing professional in South America or in Europe for years and years and years.
And they're men who are in their in their mid-20s, while the college players in the United States are 18, 19 years old, and that is a huge gap to overcome. Great defense by the United States.
Chauncey Billups almost had the steal, but he just stepped out of bounds or dribbled the ball out of bounds. So we'll have 1 tick of the clock left. And LeBron James has not played in the third quarter. So he remains 11 of 11 from the field.
Which would be a record if he does not play the rest of this game. But as a basketball fan, I want to see him get out there. I want to see him do what Ted Williams did in his closing appearance at the plate. Batista trying to keep this thing close.
95-64. We got 10 minutes to go. Third quarter after going 11 of 11 from the field in the first half.
And I sense a correlation between the fact that the United States only outscored Uruguay by 3 points in that third quarter. But LeBron James is already, if he doesn't play another second, he would set the record, because the international FIBA record for highest field goal percentage by an American player is held by Elton Brand, who versus Algeria 5 years ago went 8 for 8. Doug Smith against South Korea back in 1990, he went 8 for 8 as well. So LeBron at 11 for 11 is already the top dog.
But you want to see him.
I want to see him get out there and
play and not miss again.
See him make 6 more shots and walk out of here with all the records. Because he's 9 points behind Carmelo for the top performance scoring wise.
Right.
Zone defense here for the United States. Will they ever really need it?
Well,
Argentina tomorrow night. Argentina looked very good. They struggled early on against Brazil tonight.
Tyson Chandler, whoa.
Did you?
Morales just grabs his arm, and Chandler's like, what is up with that?
How about the quote by Barbosa about Kobe's smothering defense earlier this week? Because Barbosa, who is now back on top of the scoring race in this FIBA America tournament, he says, I've played against Kobe many, many times in the NBA, and I've never seen him play defense like that. And he was, Barbosa was extremely impressed with the defensive work of Kobe Bryant early this week.
74% from two-point range for the USA. And you got to figure a lot of them are those 100% shots, those dunks.
Well, the dunk, John, it requires the least amount of skill to get it to go through the basket.
Well, if you're talking about shooting the ball.
Right. I mean,
it does take some other
shot
skills.
Is much more difficult to make than a
shooting wall. But as far as difficulty, jumping that high does require some athletic ability.
Look at it this way. Amari, he can dunk with the best of them, and he wants to make threes. And all the little guys that make the threes, they want to go in there and dunk. So go figure.
It's just like the rock stars want to be athletes, and the athletes want to be rock stars.
Oh, did you see the new Dylan dates that were announced on the website today? He's got a great tour, fall tour. He just got back from Australia and New Zealand, and now he's going to start up a fall tour with Elvis Costello. So that'll just be fantastic.
And the first day I don't go on Dylan website in months, they announced the tour dates. How did I miss that?
One of the fascinating subplots in this game tonight is that Batista, the best player for Uruguay, who's already got 20 points, if he gets 8 more points in the rest of this game, he will then take over the scoring lead in the entire tournament.
He's already the leading rebounder in the tournament, so maybe something to walk away with. Shot from the outside, still won't drop down for Taboada. Chauncey Billups comes up shooting. Can't get the roll. Rebounded by Morales. Slow movement of the basketball there.
Tyson Chandler in extended minutes has played very well tonight and really doesn't get much of a chance. Dwight Howard has not seen a lot of action tonight, but quite possibly we are seeing Krzyzewski rest his so-called starting five. He doesn't like to delineate between the first unit and the second unit. He thinks it's demeaning to these great stars who have sacrificed themselves to be part of the team. But the look ahead to tomorrow night in the undefeated Argentine team and how that's going to play out.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. Argentina did have to go to overtime against Brazil. Brazil shot it very well from three in that game, and that's the reason they led most of the game. Argentina wins it in overtime. But the reality is, this is not the Argentine team that we would see in the Olympics.
But Argentina has surprised everyone with their development of their entire program. We're not just talking about Manu Ginobili, who is, when he's on his game, he can be the best player by himself in the entire world. Then you got Nocioni, who's also not playing, who's a very fierce competitor. You got Oberto, who combined with Manu Ginobili to score, what, 24, the last 26 points of the championship game at Cleveland in the 4-game sweep. I mean, so these are really good players. They're not even playing, and the team is still absolutely on top of this tournament, as Tyson Chandler has been on top right now. And Tyson Chandler certainly showing that he can dunk.
Well, also going up and getting that lob from Darren Williams as well. Then the quick steal. Michael Redd with it. Mike Miller. It's interesting. You talk about, again, not wanting to delineate between the first five and the next five, but it's not as if these guys that are on the floor, other than Tyson Chandler, haven't gotten their share of minutes in the first few games.
No.
I mean, they've gotten their minutes as well, so.
With the exception of Tyson.
Yeah, so that's what I did there. Okay. The exception of Tyson Chandler. Smallest guy on the floor goes up and gets it, Martinez.
But you are talking a different level, with the exception of Tayshaun Prince, who plays, as a former world champion and on that great Piston franchise. But you're talking Kobe in the Lakers, LeBron James in Cleveland, Jason Kidd. I mean, you're talking a separation from the rest of the world with those type of players. Carmelo Anthony, throw him in there.
Well, it was interesting as we see Michael Redd hit from outside, and it's good to see Michael Redd find the range because he had been struggling from out there. But if you remember the piece that we had on Kobe from a night or so ago, when Mike Krzyzewski was scrubbing, the players at that level, whatever that level is, was the only way he could describe it. Nice job going after the rebound. Another nice rebound underneath.
A couple interesting notes from around the NBA today that just came up late, John, was the Clippers signing Ruben Patterson. The Clippers in a world of hurt with Elton Brand being hurt. And we'll have more on that when we come back from this important break. Right now, the USA surging to another powerful victory.
Higher play of the game. We should call it the higher player of the game.
Highest player of the game, LeBron James. This is an incredible throwdown here, rivaling the greatest dunkers ever. Dr. J, Michael Jordan, Dominique Wilkins, Vince Carter, all those guys coming. Remember last year's All-Star game in Las Vegas that they were all the judges, and there's that great photograph that the NBA took of those 5 guys, and it's Michael Jordan standing right in the middle with his hand right on top of the ball. Oh,
it's not good though when the judges are, you know what I mean, head and shoulders above the contestants.
But John, they're 20 years old.
Yes.
So
I understand.
And these guys, come on, Kobe and LeBron throwing it down.
A lot of the bigger names don't want to get involved in the dunk contest anymore. Tayshaun Prince. The reason there were a lot of smiles on the bench of Uruguay a while ago is because Fernando Martinez got about 3 rebounds in a row in amongst the United States team, and then got a putback. And he's about 5'9" they list him as, which means he's probably about 5'7". Tayshaun Prince finishes off, but the ball kept just coming right back to him.
To see the guys dancing around on the bench, I couldn't help but think that with the Dancing with the Stars thing that's coming up, that Mark Cuban and Floyd Mayweather are going to be a part of, Wayne Newton is also going to be a part of it. And I can only hope that he sings Viva Las Vegas.
I'm sure he's singing that tonight. With Tayshaun Prince with another strong finish again. The United States is going to stay perfect and set up that matchup against Argentina. It was Savita knocking that one down against Argentina, who's also unbeaten. They did have to go to overtime against Brazil tonight. The game will be tomorrow at midnight on ESPN2.
But the advantage, what you gain for winning tomorrow night's game, United States versus Argentina, you get that #1 seed Saturday, so you get the lowest opponent. You get the 4th seed, which is going to most likely be determined by that game, Canada versus Puerto Rico. And the guard play, can Carlos Arroyo and Larry Ayuso pull one more miracle out? Because Canada has a better front court.
I was going to say, Canada's front court has been playing very, very well in this tournament.
And English will be a critical factor for Canada, going head-to-head with Arroyo and Ayuso.
Taboada knocking down another outside shot. Mike Moore. You think he walked?
Find a pivot foot, please.
Tyson Chandler trying to swing it back up. That one is broken up. Oh, come on. Let the little guy go in and take it down. Come on. Fernando Martinez. Look at the U.S. bench.
They have to put their hands over their faces.
Give them a break.
If Canada and Uruguay win, though, Canada gets all the way to 3. So that's so critical tomorrow night, the games. USA and Argentina to decide 1 and 2, and then Canada, Puerto Rico to decide literally everything else. And John, I'm glad you explained that.
Well, I was waiting for you to go into explaining the 4-way tie. how we decide that.
You already know my limitations mathematically. Galileo, his theories didn't quite permeate the brain waves here.
Well, I'm telling you, it's going to take an astronomer to figure things out, because they go to the goal differential, which is a mathematical formula where you divide number of points given up in a number of points scored.
A 4-point play here.
And only against the teams that you're tied with. So now I'm going to be up all night with a calculator trying to figure that one out. Step back. It was good to see Michael Redd again, because he did go cold there for a while. But again, it's typical of shooters. They'll go cold, and they'll keep shooting, and they'll get hot again.
But to illustrate the disparity here, John, The United States is the #1 country in the world in internet connectivity with 210 million users out of a 300 million population. China quickly is going to be #1. Right now, they already have 137 million users, but they have a 24% annual growth rate in internet use. Uruguay has only 1.1 million people who are connected to the internet. And Chile and Argentina are 1 and 2 in South America, but their population base is so much bigger. But Montevideo is an incredible city, and it's been ranked in the top 30 of places in the entire world for places to live. It is the most advanced and highest quality of life in all of South America, and it's the second safest capital city in the entire world.
Miller with the putback there as we're in the final minute of play, as the United States again is going to walk off with a lopsided victory.
And didn't even use their regulars for the entire fourth quarter.
Not allowed to use that term.
Okay. They're starters.
There you go.
And it was interesting, the one night that they changed up the starting lineup, that was against Mexico.
And they gave up 100 points.
And they struggled. Yep. And Mexico was the only team in the entire tournament that shot better than 40% against the United States. They shot 46%. And Tyson Chandler, he just has another reverse dunk. And frustrating, disappointing, and kind of embarrassing at this point, the way that Uruguay is getting dunked on.
Well, when you start shaking hands with 11 seconds left in the game, and the coaches are hugging before the clock is ticked off, and the handshakes are done before it's over, and LeBron James has not come out of his sweatsuit in the second half, that tells you all you need to know, Bill.
But he's in the record books. Greatest field goal percentage in the history of the United States international basketball competition.
11 for 11. We'll get back here in a moment.